Hello, thanks for clicking. I'm going to assume if you are watching this video, you want to know what ultrarunning is and what ultramarathons are. Short answer, ultramarathons are any race longer than a marathon, which marathons, if you don't know, are about 26.2 miles. I'm not quite sure what that is in kilometers. It's in the 42 to 44 kilometer mark, I think. I don't know off the top of my head, and I saw it when I googled the distance for a marathon and it just exited my brain. So if you are a kilometer person, I guess you have to calculate or just Google it. I'm sorry. But yeah, ultra running is basically just the sport of running ultramarathons. The Great and Powerful Goog says they're the same thing, but you know, ultra running sounds more like a sport to me, so I'm going to call it a sport, and ultramarathon is the event kind of thing. Simple as that. So with that simple definition out of the way, if that's what you were looking for, congratulations. You got the information. But, you know, I want to talk a little bit about the different race formats. There's a few. The basic race format that we're all used to are the distance races. You have like 5K, 10K, half marathon, marathon. Those are like the standard races you hear a lot of people talking about. But for ultramarathons, the most common distances you'll see is a 50K race, which is about 32 miles. I personally plan on running one this fall. I'm all registered and ready to go. The 50 miler, which 50 miles in one go, that's a lot. 100K, which about 62 miles. And then the big ultimate achievement of ultra runners, a lot of people will train years for this, is the 100 miler, which that's not off the table for me, and hopefully it's not off the table for anybody, because it's a tough race. It's a tough race. So those are the basic, most common distances you will find with ultramarathons. You will, if you look, there are some niche events that are longer. Like, I've heard of ones where you're running a marathon every day for a week, and that event, you're going like, I don't know how many miles, but like 200-300 in a week. So there's events like that. There's the Barkley, which they say is 100 miles, but it's probably more because it's the Barkley. But basically, the basic distance, go from point A to point B or complete a loop as fast as possible. I wouldn't say as fast as possible, but go from point A to point B or complete the loop within the allotted time. These ultramarathons do have cutoff times and time limits that you have to make certain checkpoints by. If you don't, you'll be pulled. Usually it's a safety thing. Like the race I'm running has a 10-hour cutoff time because they want us off the course by dark. They don't want people running in the woods at dark. I don't know the exact legal reasons. There's probably insurance and liability. You know how it is. But, that's the basic distances. Distances aren't the only way to measure an ultramarathon. The next two formats I kind of see as blurring the line between a regular race and an ultramarathon. And I guess you could say they're not regular races because they don't follow regular race rules. Everyone lines up and starts, everyone runs, everyone finishes kind of thing. They kind of break that tradition. And those two formats are the Backyard Ultra, also known as the Last Man Standing, or I don't know what the official name for this type of race is, but they're timed races, where you have a set period of time to complete the race, which I will go into more detail. I know it sounds a lot like the distance races, but they're different, I promise. But I won't go into crazy detail about Backyard Ultras, but I will give a brief description of what they are. So basically, you have to run a 4-ish mile loop through the woods every hour on the hour. If you fail to complete the previous loop and start the next at the start of the hour, you're pulled from the race. You can't run anymore. And Backyard Ultras go until the last runner, only one runner is left. The last person or the person to complete one more lap than everybody else is the finisher, and everyone else is a did not finish, and some even go as far as to say did not win. Yeah, the Backyard Ultra is a brutal beast that I do not, well actually I can't say I do not want to experience because I plan on running one soon, and I am so sorry, but it has been hot and there are insects in my apartment that are flying around by the camera because of the lights. I apologize. But yeah, they can be brutal, but they can also be pretty forgiving, you know? You don't have to go full throttle constantly for a whole race. You know, you're only going for that first 4-ish miles. And then if you finish the loop early, you get to rest between laps. So a little more forgiving in the sense that you're not going for however many distance straight, but it can be brutal getting up and starting a lap every hour. And the other one is very similar to backyard ultras, but I think are even more forgiving and probably one of the most beginner-friendly ultramarathons out there, and that is what I've been calling the timed races. So basically, they're very similar to a backyard ultra where you're completing loops, usually on trails through the woods. I've seen ones where they're like, yeah, we're all on paved roads. That sounds terrible. I'm not doing that. But you complete multiple loops of the same course, and the loop distance and time of this race can vary from event to event. I've seen courses that each loop is like 7.5 miles, 8 miles. I want to run one this December where the loop is just over a 5K. So it really varies, and it's not a strict, the loop, it has to be this distance. Backyard ultras, the loop has to be about 4.16 miles, while timed races, it's all on the race organization. And then the distance, the time part. Usually the time varies from race to race. The shortest ones I've seen is 4 hours. And I've seen other ones go 24 hours or longer depending on the event. And you basically just complete as many laps as you can within the allotted time, and you're only counted for complete laps usually. And if you take 2 hours to finish a loop, you're not disqualified for taking 2 hours. That's how long you take. And they measure complete loops. So it's very forgiving in my opinion, because you get to just relax. You get to go at your own pace and just see how good you can do, and if you run the same event multiple years in a row, you can see how you improve. And oftentimes, from what I've seen of these events, runners egg each other on. They're like, oh, come on, go out there for one more loop. Come on, you got this. And they're encouraging you. If you need a break between loops, you can take a break. It really all depends on the length of time of the race and what your stamina level is. So if you're looking to break into endurance running, in general, I highly recommend trying a timed race. It doesn't even have to be a 24-hour race. Like, you can pick a 4-hour, 6-hour race, take your time with it, and just see how far you can go and see if you like the sport. That is my personal recommendation if you're curious to start ultra running. Or if you want to do one of the distance races, start with a 50K. Or, a normal distance race first. I'm not taking this advice personally, so you do you. I'm personally going from 5 to 50K with nothing in between because, I think it's going to be hilarious rocking up to a 50K, only ever having run 5Ks. But, and I know those last two formats can technically be shorter than a marathon depending on the skill of the runner, their level of endurance, but I do count them as ultramarathons because they don't really fit into the traditional race formats, and they really take a lot of the same traits from ultra running. Even if you don't go on ultra, they take all the same traits of ultra running and require them for the race. So I do consider them ultramarathons, even though you could technically go less than the 26.2 miles, or you can go a lot more. It really all depends. So that's why I'm counting them. But they're both really great formats if you're looking for something to start off with. And then there's one more thing I feel I should mention about ultramarathons. Almost every ultramarathon you're going to find is going to take place at least partially on trails. And because of this, they're never going to be the exact distance that is labeled. My ultramarathon that I'm running in the fall is slightly over the 31 mile mark. It's closer to 32. It's hard to do that with trails. And if you've only run on roads or treadmill and you want to try running an ultramarathon or some other type of ultra type race, please find a local hiking trail and try trail running first. Trail running is a whole different animal to road running. I have done road and trails extensively. They require a slightly different skill set and a lot of differences in the demands of the body. Trails are often steeper, rockier, and unstable ground, which makes running on them very difficult. But trail running honestly is so much fun. I highly recommend you do it. And so if you want to run an ultramarathon, be prepared for trail running, or you're going to have a not fun time. So that's just one thing I thought was important to mention. I don't know if it's mentioned everywhere. Most people focus on the distance. Very few people are like, yeah, be prepared to trail run. Some people do, but yeah, a lot of these events are at least in part on trails. All right, so those are all the mainstream ultramarathon formats that I know. There are most likely niche events out there that are considered ultramarathons, but don't really fall into any of the before mentioned categories. And I highly recommend, if you're interested in ultra running but are intimidated by the distance, just don't be intimidated. From what I've seen, the running communities are really friendly, they're really great, and ultra running isn't about coming in first place or getting a personal record. It's about racing the course and finishing the challenge at hand. And you don't have to worry about other runners, just worry about making that cutoff time and worry about just completing the challenge. And unless you're an elite runner, like I'm talking like top 3 or 4 people in the race, you're not gonna be worried about getting that like record time. So, I personally think ultra running is even more accessible than traditional running, because traditional running, you're always about getting point A to point B as fast as possible. It has a lot more intense training, while traditional ultra running, what I found is it's more about quantity and less about like intensity. You know what I mean? So it feels a lot less competitive in nature to me, and it feels a lot more communal. I've seen videos and heard of events where people are just egging each other on to continue, to push further. Oh, the aid station's just a little ahead, like stuff like that. And it's very encouraging. It's just very encouraging. People aren't going to be putting you down. So if you feel intimidated, don't be. And worst case scenario is you get a DNF and you try again next time. It's really, I think, worth it to see if you are capable of achieving that challenge. So if you made it this far, thank you so much for watching, and hopefully you are convinced about running ultramarathons as I am. And I hope to catch you in the next video I make for some more running, fitness, and possibly food content. I do all three. I really enjoy everything about health and fitness. So thank you so much again, and have a good one.